Good chilly Wednesday evening, everyone. It's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm, and this is the video we call Weather for Weather Geeks. Are you ready to geek out on some up and down weather over the next several days? We'll get into all the details, but first let's take a look back on today's date in weather history, as I oftentimes like to do when there's something notable on a certain date for our area. And we had a big late season snow event 19 years ago today, back in 2005. 4.9 inches worth of snow at the airport. Again, one of our bigger late April snow events in our region's history has occurred this century. But of course, we did not see snow today. We saw temperatures going in the wrong direction, though. The cold front rolled through right on schedule last night, and we kind of hovered mostly in the 40s during the daylight hours today. We popped up to 51 briefly at the airport mid-morning, but as the clouds continued to thicken, temperatures just basically did not move throughout the afternoon. And this thick blanket of clouds is still overhead, but the clearing a little after 7 p.m. this evening is starting to work across Lake Erie. It's going to take a little while before the clearing really is more pronounced in eastern Ohio and western PA. The speed of the clearing will determine how cold we get tonight, but because we are expecting a fair amount of clearing overnight, the Weather Service offices regionally did issue freeze warnings as expected today. This includes most of eastern Ohio and western PA. Now, down closer to Interstate 70, these are frost advisories because temperatures won't get quite as cold down there. This should be our last freeze warning of the season. And again, it's going to be a little bit dependent on how fast the sky clears tonight. I think on average we'll go clear by 2, 3, 4 in the morning, but you know, it's in late April. We're into late April now, I should say. Our sunrise is pretty early in the 6 o'clock hour, so we won't have much time before sunrise with a completely clear sky overhead late tonight. So it could be a colder night, but nonetheless, I think temperatures will probably end up pretty close to 31, 32 in a lot of Mahoning County. Trumbull County, same idea. Now, there's going to be some sheltered valleys and some nooks out there that see 30 or 31 first thing in the morning, but on average, about 31, 32. Mercer County might have the best chance of seeing a hard freeze overnight tonight, as temperatures may slip down into the 20s in most locations across Mercer County. And some of the last areas to see the clearing tonight may be in Columbiana County, especially the southern part of the county, and therefore temperatures might not get quite as cold in places like Wellsville and East Liverpool, even up towards Calcutta, Lisbon, West Point, places like that. But no matter which way you slice it, this is still a cold night. But when you're close to freezing in late April, when there's hanging baskets and other things outside, every degree does count. Just do yourself a favor and take care of any of the outdoor vegetation overnight tonight, covering it up or bringing it in. Make sure if you're doing plastic tonight that you take it off tomorrow morning because of all the sunshine that will be out there for our Thursday. All right, full moon up there tonight. We're not going to see it this evening, but as the sky clears overnight, you may see a glimpse of April's full moon, oftentimes called the pink moon. It's not actually pink, of course. It's named after flowers at this time of the year. It's also known as the sprouting grass moon, the fish moon, and the hare moon as well. All right, so cold night for tonight. And I didn't mean to show this graphic, so let's just skip on past this. I already showed you the Futurecast temperatures. So real quickly, I want to take a little detour. I posted this on social media earlier. I've been asked, a handful of times, not only recently, but in the last couple years, actually, there's a perception among some people that it's windier than it used to be. That we've had a lot of windy weather over the last couple of years. Is there any truth to that? And it is oftentimes with the weather, it's kind of a yes or no, not exactly black or white answer to a question like this. What we're looking at here is a graph showing the average wind speeds from January 1st through today's date, or yesterday's date, I should say, the 23rd of April, at the Youngstown Warren Airport. And actually, going by this metric since the start of the year, this is one of the least windy January 1st to April 23rd periods on record. But these are not the wind gusts. These are just the average sustained winds, which, again, nothing to write home about here. In fact, we're in the bottom 10 as far as least amount of wind speed on average through yesterday's date in a calendar year. But when it comes to wind gusts, it's a little bit of a different story. In fact, since the first of the year, 2024 has had the highest wind gusts on average of any year on record. And notice all the recent years. And this leads me to, question some of the data a little bit. All these years in the top 10 are from this century. And I cross-referenced this a little bit with a couple of other reporting stations in the general region, including Hopkins Airport up near Cleveland, and they also have seen an uptick in the wind gusts during this same time period in the last 20 years or so. which leads me to believe that it's not an instrumentation issue at the Youngstown Warren Airport, and it may be just a region-wide thing. And I think this makes some sense if you think about, more often than not, we've had warm winters in the 21st century. Now, of course, we had some pretty harshly cold winters around the mid-2000s up to about 2010, 2011. But ever since then, our warm winters have outnumbered easily the cold winters. And anytime we have warm temperatures in the winter, it's oftentimes accompanied by wind. It's advecting in. That wind is advecting the unusual warmth in. And so it tends to be breezier or windier than usual when you have warm weather in the winter season. I think this year has been particularly gusty. In addition to the warm winter temperatures, we've had a fair amount of thunderstorm activity so far this spring, and those, of course, bring some wind gusts. And so those factors, I think, are at play when it comes to the increase in wind gust speeds, not only this year, but in some recent years as well. We'll blitz through Futurecast over the next few days. Not much to show you here. Some frost is a possibility Friday morning, even though those air temperatures may not be as cold as Thursday morning. But that should be it for the season, I think, for frost and freeze concerns. High clouds will filter in later Friday, leading to a chance for showers as this warm front pushes in late Friday night, I should say, into Saturday morning. I'm pretty confident, though, that these showers will get out of here by midday Saturday. We'll get into this drier slot out here as we head towards the second half of Saturday, and that should mean, pretty nice weather for the rest of the weekend. And we're really going to get a taste of summer, I think, by the end of the weekend and early on next week. This is the general upper level pattern, I should say, on this map, as well as the low-level atmospheric moisture. We kind of juxtapose these things to show you the general pattern, both upstairs and down here at the ground. And upstairs, what's going on by Sunday and early next week. Strong low out here. This is going to be a big severe weather setup for several days out in the Plain States. But this is also pumping the ridge across the eastern U.S. And so we'll get it on some late May, early June like warmth for a couple of days, a fair amount of moisture. So are we going to call it humid? Is it going to feel like July? No, but a little bit abnormal for the very end of April and the start of May. And while there will be a midweek cold front next week, I think the air behind that front will just be back to the upper 60s, lower 70s for daytime highs. Nothing like we had today. So we'll have the 80s for a couple days, I think, Sunday and Monday. In fact, we'll flirt with a record high Monday afternoon. After that, not quite as June-like, but still very, very mild, it looks like, for at least the first week, if not 10 days or so, of May, of course, compared to the average. That'll do it for me on weather for Weather Geeks on this Wednesday evening. Thanks, as always, for watching. We'll do it again on Thursday. We'll talk more about that weekend forecast.